across the sofa. We'd all sit.
Nice.
They were always encouraged to do that.
So you're reading 50 Shades of Grey right now?
I finished 50 Shades of Grey. Thank you so much for asking. And I won a poetry competition when I think I was in first grade.
Yeah.
And it was on that big lined paper that, you know, I had to fit it within those lines, and it was about a raft.
Did the raft poem rhyme? Was it?
It did. I will say the first two lines for you.
Yay!
I was on a raft, enjoying the sun, when way behind, back aft, a storm at sea begun. I was in first grade, so don't judge me.
So you used the word aft?
I did, because my dad's a sailor, you know, he's in the Navy, so he was very proud because I used nautical terminology, so it was a win-win all around. I'm surprised you haven't heard of it.
Sorry,
I'm a
no.
little disappointed. I think books were kind of a lifeline to me. My father was in the Navy, so we moved every 2 years or so. And I remember just having the same books in the different places, and that was the first thing that I would do when we would move into a new house, is I would unpack the books. And I know we moved to Italy for 2 years, and I knew no Italian. And I went to a school for the first year where they spoke no English. And my grandparents sent me a huge box filled with Happy Hollister books and Bobbsey Twins, and I would get home from school after just sitting there for hours lost, and just I would know those would be there. So it really was. It was just some comfort as I moved from place to place.
Yeah.
I used to send him poems and things when he was deployed. He'd be gone for about 6 or 7 months every 2 years on a ship. And they would be able to get mail at certain stops along the way, and so I would send him, and usually it was poetry that I sent him, and so he kept all those, and then he just got in the habit, I think, of keeping the poetry and letters that I had sent him. So he would write postcards usually, and I still have those. He would get postcards from the different places he was, and he would just write about things like when he was in India, he would write about, oh, the cows poop in the street. I mean, I was young, so he would do that. So in his writing, he has wonderful writing. It's almost like calligraphy. And so the actual form of his writing was just, I think, one of the reasons that I kept them, even when I was at an age where you don't necessarily hold on to things like that. And I'm glad I did. But and then if he had heard in a letter from my mom, for instance, about me doing really well, I remember there was one about I did really well. I dove off the high dive for the first time, and he would write about that. But it was usually like 3 or 4 months after the fact, because the letters, you know, took time to get there. So yeah, I used to go back through those, and when he'd get home, I'd show them to him, and he'd talk more about the experiences he had that didn't fit necessarily on the postcard. So it was really a nice way for us to communicate with each other, both while he was gone, and then there's always that transition when he came home, since he was gone for so long, and that was kind of a way for us to connect.